Michelle Prince, founder and CEO of Performance Publishing Group, making a difference one story at a time. We'll be shining the light on successful founders, entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders that are getting results and making a difference. We'll talk about how they built their businesses, are creating movements, and leveraging the power of authority in their own lives. Be sure to stick around to the end of the show and we'll reveal how you can be our next guest. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Michelle Prince, host of the Power of Authority Spotlight, where we shine the light on successful business owners, founders, leaders, people that are doing big things. They're making an impact in the world along with their business. And so I'm excited to introduce you to our guest today in just a second. First, this episode is brought to you by Performance Publishing. If you've ever thought about writing a book, now is the time. Everyone has a story, but your book is your business card. So if you've ever thought or considered, maybe I should get my thoughts down on paper, go to performancepublishinggroup.com, grab a free strategy call, see if it's a fit for you. And if so, take that next step and start writing your book. Again, performancepublishinggroup.com. All right, let me introduce you to Scott Goodrich. He has an entrepreneurial spirit that's been burning since his teenage years. In fact, he built a lawn mowing service and managed multiple paper routes, a business owner in training. After graduating college, Scott had a successful career as a sales and operations executive, but his desire to be a business owner was never far from his heart, which we can both relate to on that. 7 years ago, he and his wife, Jenn, took the plunge and started their own business. Like many others, they spent all their time on the struggle bus, dealing with cash flow issues, trying to make payroll, and handling staffing issues. Ultimately, they persevered and learned some incredibly valuable lessons along the way. Now, Scott is dedicated to helping others avoid the pitfalls he faced, fulfilling his purpose as a coach, and helping owners and teams achieve their dreams. When he's not guiding businesses towards success, Scott can be found hitting the gym, on the golf course, or racking up miles on his Peloton. As an EOS implementer, Scott is passionate about helping business owners build a solid foundation and clear vision, empowering them to achieve growth, balance, and financial freedom, all while enjoying the ride. I love it. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Thank you so much for having me. Like that bio, seems familiar to me in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it sounds like your life a little bit, right? All right. Well, you and I had a chance even before the show started just to kind of commiserate as business owners a little bit of, it is a journey, right?
Absolutely.
If you have not owned a business, it may look easy, but owning a business has its share of the highs, the lows, and everything in between. And I think this topic today is going to be really relevant to our listeners, because whether you're thinking of starting a business or whether you already have a business, there's always room for improvement, and there's always the struggle bus. Like, I love that that's in your bio. Right? But let's talk tell us a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting one. I've had this conversation with several folks recently, and Gino Wickman, the founder of EOS and the author of Traction, I actually listened and watched him in an interview, and Gino is convinced that entrepreneurs are born, not made. And I've asked that question of some folks along the way, and I have to trust him. He's kind of the guru there, right? He knows more about entrepreneurs than most others that are out there. And so, I didn't think I was an entrepreneur, but I keep doing things that are entrepreneur-like. So you start to realize, okay, maybe that's me. So yeah, even as a kid, right? I don't know what drove me to do this. My parents were they were in the same jobs, the same companies their entire life. My mom was a teacher, stayed in the same school district her entire career. My father was an attorney, joined a law firm, one law firm, the whole law firm till he retired. So there wasn't that dynamic, changing of jobs, and I'm going to chase this dream. Just wasn't who they were. Yet that wasn't me. So yeah, I was mowing a lawn, and then someone else asked me to mow their lawn, and then then I had several lawns, and you do some flyers, and okay, now I'm a multiple lawns, and my buddies had lawnmowers. I'm like, well, those lawnmowers are idle when your dad's not using them. Let's get those going. Now we're mowing a bunch of lawns. So it became, the lawn mowing service, unofficial company. Now, the funny thing about it is sometimes my buddies were not as motivated as I was. So guess who mowed the lawn when that happened?
Right.
The owner of the lawn mowing service. So, I was doing that. Then at the same time, I was waking up every morning and I had a paper route. Back in the day, I'm old. I used to deliver papers door to door when people got a newspaper. And I lived in Connecticut, so I was out in the country, so to speak. So it was a little distance between homes, and I'd do that. And then someone had that neighboring paper route they stopped doing. I'm like, well, I'll do that one too. So now I'm doing two paper routes for a
My
while.
gosh.
But, I don't know what it was about that. I guess it was just desire. Hey, I'd like to have some cash in my pocket, like to have some money to take it around. Love to get a car at some point in time. And, I just kind of kept on doing things like that. So poof, there's an entrepreneurial, spirit or flame that gets lit there.
I
And
love
once again, it's nature and nurture. I don't know, but that's what I was doing.
Okay, random question,
Yeah.
but are you
Yeah.
the oldest in your family?
I am. Yep. I am. Yep.
Oh,
I've got a younger sister, but oldest. Yeah. So there's something to that, right? Firstborn. I don't know if that's
no. I'm the second born, and my brother,
okay.
everything you just described sounds exactly like him. He had a paper route, he had a lawn mowing business. And he is a multi-time entrepreneur and still is. And I remember always admiring that, but it came natural to him. I won't say it came natural to me. So anyway,
Yeah.
that was a random question, but firstborn,
Yeah.
I think there could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Let's
It's
ask
something to
Gina.
it. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Gina, come on now. Give us a little more insight on that. Yeah. Then I went away from it. It was kind of funny. So when I got out of school, I said, okay, I guess I got to get a job. And I don't know why or what flipped there, but you go to school and you think, all right, I'm going to go into that space. So, and there wasn't one readily available for me. I actually thought I was going to be a basketball coach. That's what I thought I was going to be. I love coaching, love teaching. That was a thing, but that didn't pan out. I did a little bit of it in college and for a year after, but ultimately found myself in sales, and now I'm, back in that trying to make a buck, right? But I don't know how that shifted in my brain. I have obviously come back to it now, but there was that time where I was okay. I'm going to build this career
Yeah.
and go through the ranks of growing a career in sales and operations. It's a little bit of a shift.
Which maybe though that needed to happen because I would imagine you learned a lot of lessons in that season of also too of like what you enjoy doing, what you don't enjoy doing. Do you think any of that propelled you to maybe want to start your own business after that career? Or
No
what do you
doubt. Yeah, and learn tons. I would not trade it
right?
for the world. I learned so much. I had some you go up and down through a career, whatever, but learn some really awesome lessons along the way, lessons that I need to learn. I came out of school with a liberal arts degree, not sure what I was going to do. So sales became logical, but it wasn't long before I became the sales manager because I liked coaching others and teaching others. So that continued in that stage. So it was more manager type roles from then on, but I just learned a ton. I worked at Capital One for a
Mhm.
long period of time, running some operations there and kind of growing there, but just well, there's a lot of smart people at Capital One and really an analytically driven company, really making the decisions based on data, based on facts. And it was an awesome on the job learning experience. And they also did a lot of stuff just to say, what do you want to be when you grow up type exercises. They were
Oh,
very forward as a company about let's find out who you are, what you're about. While you're here, we're gonna, you'll work for us, we'll pay you like that. We'll have that exchange, but we also want to see where you want to go ultimately. So
so awesome.
oh
Love
yeah,
that.
I have nothing but great things to say about Capital One and the culture and what they built over the course, at least during the years that I was there, and it really helped cement a lot of things there. Taught me a lot. I also got a chance to do some stuff. So
Mm,
going back to that coaching and training while I was there, me and a couple others, we said, well, we've got some things that are working well in leadership training.
mhm.
Let's teach that to others. So we got the space to create an in-house university to help bring other leaders in and show them what we were doing, bring in some guest speakers and give them some exposure and some in-house training for the low cost of $0, other than coming to where we were within the company structure. So there's that coaching thing again, but that sort of popped up. So it was just having those platforms within the framework of that. So I'm learning, but I'm also contributing to the growth of Capital, which was, it was booming back there in the 2000s and becoming the monolith today, the monster it is. But a lot of fun stuff. Met a lot of great folks that I still stay in touch with today. So it was really a great training ground.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's fast forward then.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst that had you decide to go out and start your own business?
That desire to want to do your own thing, right? You want to have that. You want to be in control. I'd worked for folks along the way, right? You always have a boss when you're a W-2 employee, and had some ideas and said, boy, this is a pathway to some flexibility.
Yeah.
This is a pathway to be able to have something that's going to be beyond just the paycheck, of something of our own. And so we explored together a lot of different things. My wife and I did a lot of I did a lot of the research. franchise, built something on our own, a lot of different things, and ultimately did end up going with a franchise and bought into that. But it was interesting because we were the first of our kind in our market. So a lot of guinea pig stuff. So yes, it was a franchise, but in many ways it was our own business, right? I mean, and you had to look at it like that. And we can now spend the next 2 hours talking about all the mistakes that we made in the first 3 years. That struggle bus that you referred to earlier is real in doing that. Mistake number one, and for anyone that's listening, you probably got this. A lot of franchisors will advertise absentee CEO. You make the investment, hire someone, and it'll go great. That is false, false, and hard lesson, because I was still working at the time, even though I'd done this. My wife was still working, and we're like trying to do this on the side of the desk at night, on the weekends, and it was not working. Lesson number one: if you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah,
get in there and do it. Yep, got to. Second, you got to have some tolerance for some risk. You got to have some tolerance for some pain. You got to know it's not going to be smooth. Yeah. So,
which every person who starts a business, every entrepreneur is usually in that honeymoon, or you're so excited and like, I'm finally going to follow my passion. It's going to go so well, and it doesn't always go so well.
Oh my God, I can think of two distinct moments. So the business is a haircut and color franchise.
Okay.
I'm a bald guy, so that's odd. But hey, well, so it was, but we loved the culture. It's an urban aesthetic. It's a unisex cut and color. So we really very welcoming to folks that maybe can't find the right spot to come to. It was originally based out of Portland, and so our franchise is in Tempe, Arizona. It's called Bishop's Cuts Color, and we were one of the first outside of their footprint of Portland and Seattle to open. We were actually not the first to buy, but the first location get open. So we had that. So I remember distinctly this moment. We just loved the concept, loved the brand. I remember going we're building out our location, right? And I'm looking around going, this is going to be ours. Yeah. This is awesome. And it was great. And I loved it and loved everything about it. So we're building this out. It's great. Grand opening comes, and couple of customers come and say, okay, this can happen. It's good. And then a couple of weeks passed, and I started to look at my small business loan bank account balance, and I'm going down, like, then finally, we're getting a long way. And then my wife on a Monday, I'll never forget, it's a Monday, she comes and goes, you do realize we have to pay everybody on Wednesday, right? I'm like, guess I'm going to have to make a transfer out of the old savings account over to the business account to make payroll. Because in our setup, they're all W-2 employees. We don't sell seats or let people rent a seat or whatever. They're our employees. Yeah. That you go from that high of, oh, this is ours, and we get this cool new shop, and it's going to be great, to, oh yeah, all right, that's going to be taking money out of one pocket and putting it into another. Fortunately, we could do that, and we never missed a payroll. But there were some moments that you look around and go, wow, that's the reality of it, and the cash flow problems are real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that moment when you realize, wow, I'm paying the people, but I'm not paying myself.
No doubt.
This is a lot of work to make $0 actually lose money if you're taking it from savings. So, so that I think a lot of people can relate to, new business owners who think they know what they're getting into. And then, I was one of them in 2009 when I started my business. I was just so excited to finally be doing my passion. Little did I know about running a business, knew nothing about finances and all of that. And I definitely had some hard years of a lot of big, hard lessons to learn. And so I think I think you're in good company is what I'm saying. At least you and I are, but I think some people listening.
It's very rare that the overnight success is typically something that takes 7, 8, or 9 years, right? So folks will say, oh, look at Mr. Smith. He's got a couple businesses that are running. He's got free time and he can do X, Y, and Z. Well, no one knows that Mr. Smith spent 8, 9, 10, 12 years building those things so that he could have that freedom. So I think the promise of the freedom and the promise of being able to support yourself and your family and whatever you want to do, that's real. I mean, go after it, but realize that journey, right? It is full of moments of hitting the ceiling, dealing with stuff. How am I going to respond to that stuff? Having the mental fortitude to realize that stuff is coming, and taking it as it comes, and then taking action to overcome it. You got to be in that space to do it and do it right. And it takes a while to learn that, right? It's one thing to run a small little lawn mowing service, right? There's no stakes there. But now you're paying rent, you're paying people. Like, those stakes go up a little bit, and then obviously if you're taking even bigger swings, stakes get higher, and you've got to have that tolerance there. And I would say that's the one thing that I see as a commonality with all the business owners I talk to is there is a tolerance for risk, there's a tolerance for struggle, and a belief that there is going to be something on the other side. I'm gonna work through whatever it is that's been put in front of me. And,
Yeah.
those are the folks that actually can get to that point where they can look back and say, oh yeah, that overnight success story of the last 8 years is made reality.
So in your bio, we mentioned that you are an EOS integrator. How much
Yeah.
has EOS played a part in your business transition or success? Where
Yeah,
does
it's
that come in?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I wish I knew about it a while ago. I kind of came to it late in all reality, and came to it more from the academic side. I was talking to someone, they said, "Hey, read a book, and this
Yeah.
is the book you want to read." They actually started with the second book in the book series that makes up EOS, which is Rocket Fuel. But then I immediately read Traction, which is the book that the whole system is based on. And it was one of those things, Michelle. I'm sure you've had a time. You read something like, "Oh, I get that."
Yeah.
Right. Like, that makes perfect sense. So I read this book. I'm like, oh, I've been doing some of that, but I wasn't calling it that. Right. So in Rocket Fuel, it defines two roles, and it's part of Traction as well, but it defines a visionary, right? Michelle, you're the visionary. You've got ideas. I'm going to do this. This is going to be great. I'm going to set the culture. Where are we going next? Oh, we're going to go after this. And
Yeah.
folks are willing to follow you. You've got those big ideas, but then there's this complementary piece, the integrator. And this integrator this is the person that gets stuff done, right?
Yeah.
That's the get stuff done person. They're the glue. They hold the thing together. They kind of act as a governor for the visionary and his or her next great idea. And I was an integrator most of my life, and so I just wasn't called that, but I was a get stuff done guy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I can
Good
read
stuff, that
performance
guy. I love
reviews, and
that.
yeah. I mean, that's what I did. So that was the first thing, right? That part of it. That's what my career was about, and then Traction really put it into in crystallized and said, oh, it's all in one place. Here's what it looks like in a nice tidy package.
Yeah.
Then the second thing is I love to coach, right? And we talked about it earlier. I did some basketball coaching. I've done some coaching in the business world. So, right, got that coaching element, and that's what I get to do when I get to work with companies is coach them through. Yeah, as EOS implementers, we don't consult. We don't tell you how to do your business. We trust you know your business better than we ever will. What we're going to do is help you run it better.
Yeah.
This is about execution, and it's about getting all that energy that exists in your organization all pointed in the same direction. Right. So I get to do that coaching. And then the third thing is I'm a business owner, and I get to speak to entrepreneurs and learn lessons and share lessons that I learned and learn from them. So those three things came together, and like, oh, this all comes together, and this is what I should be doing. And I'm super excited to be doing it. So that's the journey to this place where I get to have that opportunity to run a business, but also help others with their business.
Yeah, and I totally can understand it. As you mentioned, I am. We've done EOS in my company, Performance Publishing, and I am the visionary for sure.
Right, for sure.
My husband is very involved in the business, and he's the integrator. So it has worked well. Not always, because come from different viewpoints. But I imagine there's some people listening who don't know what EOS is. So can you kind of back up a little bit and explain what it is? And
yeah, not to jump forward. So EOS is not, I don't know if you have those gyms there. We have those gyms in Arizona called EOS as well. And I'm constantly saying, no, not the gym, right? But EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And a lot of folks key in that word system and think, oh, I need to buy some software. No, it is not that. This is about really executing within your business and how you're going to run your business day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. Right? It is giving you strategies, tools, and techniques to run your business effectively and get you to spend time from being in the business all the time to actually thinking about working on the business and doing the planning that's needed as a business owner. So we work with those owners and leadership teams to do just that, get working on the business and not just in it all the time.
And, I don't know if one role has a harder time than the other, but speaking as a visionary, I can tell you that structure and systems and even my personality type, I'm a high I and the disc style, like those don't come natural to me, systems and structure. So, when I was first introduced to EOS by my husband, I was a little resistant, I'll be honest, because I'm like, I got this, I know what I'm doing.
Not
But
surprising. Not surprising at all. Well, but visionaries create businesses, right? Visionaries have the ideas. They have the product. They have the service. They have the idea to fill in a gap in the marketplace, or they have a passion they want to follow. That's a visionary. So it's very hard for an integrator to found a business. Not unheard of, but it just doesn't happen that way because the integrator is thinking about, well, how am I practically going to get this stuff done? Right. And they're not thinking about that idea. So you get this founder idea, and typically, as you're getting started out, can't afford to bring anybody else on. So you're trying to play this role of, here's the idea. Oh, I got to execute it. Right. You're trying to do it all. And it's super hard. And so this relationship is so critical. And when it's done well, right, that's when companies really take off. And that's where the title rocket fuel comes from, when you're combining the spirit, passion, ideas of the visionary and the integrator making it all happen. You combine those two things, rocket fuel, and there you go. And that's what spoke to me. So I'm not surprised at all that you feel that way. I'm not surprised at all that you have some reluctance on it, but it also will help you move your ideas into reality.
Oh, it totally did. Yeah. Just going through some of the simple processes, and thinking through your values and thinking through, what do we really do and what are we known for and what are we, just and dreaming and planning and all of that stuff is so important. And so that's what you get to do, and how cool that you do this. So because that if for a company that implements this and actually, there's a lot there, right? So if they actually implement, what the result's going to be.
It's fun to see where they're going, even though they don't know when they start. And it's actually, talk to anyone that does this, and there's actually now 700 or so implementers across the world, mostly US and Canada, but there's Australia and New Zealand and the UK. We've got someone in Japan, Israel. So, I mean, we're starting to really kind of get worldwide, but everyone would say to you, the best part is the start. It's the hardest part, but it's the best part is the start, because we know where you can, if you do it, right? And that's an if, but we know if you commit to doing it, we know where you're going to be and what it's going to look like. Typically 18 to 24 months. It's a journey that you've got to really commit to going. Nothing done well gets done overnight, right? So, but we can look and say, okay, if you do these things and you build this in place, and you're right, it's pretty simple. Like the things that we talk about, you're like, well, yeah, of course. But it's the actual act of doing them over and over again, which is really the secret to it. Is just put your head down and do these things, but you will get the benefits from them. And so the start is the best part, because we know where you're going.
Give me a story. So you work with a lot of different businesses. Can you think of any story of somebody that you've helped over the years, and kind of the results of where they started and where they ended? Or
yeah, I'm going to personalize it a little bit, if you don't mind. Just go back to the business that we've got. We run our business on EOS. Surprise, right? And we mentioned the struggles that we've had, and what there's a couple things that I can point to that has made all the difference for our business today. And I'm gonna brag on my wife here for just a second. I mentioned to you that making payroll those early years now, 6.5 years later. So we opened in 2017. We reached last week, we had the highest revenue location in the entire franchise system. So that story is a real one, and they're in consistently ranking in the top 3 of all of the locations in the network. So it's a pretty awesome story, and she gets credit on that, because in that environment, she's our integrator. Like she just drives things. It's funny. Okay. I steer integrator, but in that relationship, she's like further down the scale.
Yeah. Love it.
But yeah, exactly. And it can lead to some challenges. But 2 things that came directly from bringing EOS into that business. The first is, and you mentioned him, really defining core values. Like we thought we knew what we were about, but once we actually went through and wrote them, and said, this is why we come to work every day. This is what we show up to do. And really, really valuable. And because it does 2 things. One, it makes you want to keep doing it. Like we're providing something that's not out there. So that is great. And then 2, it is a tremendous lens to make sure we're attracting the right people.
Right.
We use core values to make sure that we've got all of the right people working for us. Right. So there's 6 components that we look to strengthen within a company within EOS. One is the first is the vision and making sure they're there, but the second and probably the most important is really that people component. And we talk about right people, right seats.
Yeah.
You use your core values to make sure you've got the right people, that they fit the culture like a glove. And the most dangerous scenario in any organization is someone that really knows their job really well. They're a super duper finance person. Like you trust them with your own money. So you know they've got the company's best interests over the money. But my God, they don't match any of your core values.
Yeah.
That is so troubling. And so we say, right person, right seat, you have to have both. So we have had us, and this is kind of the biggest lesson number two. We had our top producing stylist in our location, an employee that, so right there, knows the job. For a
Yeah.
small business, top producing person,
You need
like,
them.
right. Total culture mismatch.
Mm.
Despite the success that this individual was demonstrating, we had a bad fit. And the lesson learned is we let that hang on because we were looking at the dollar and not the impact on the location. And you know what? We're doing better without her after she exited than we were when she was there dominating, doing her own thing.
I
And
hear this
so,
over
yeah,
and over and
sure.
over and over again, and I can relate so much as well.
Yeah,
But, especially when you're starting a business, you're so desperate to just get anyone to help because, usually you're doing everything at first.
yeah,
Get them in. Oh, they're rocking it. Great. But yeah, when we went through that process, I mean, I thought I really had a pretty clear culture. I thought everybody knew my values, my mission, and all of that. And for us, one of the benefits was when we got clarity, and then when we shared it with the team and say, "This is who we are. These are the non-negotiables. This is how we show up for our clients. This is how we act. This is our behavior." It reinforced the right people that were there. Thankfully we didn't lose anybody per se, but I think it was helpful for them to know
yeah,
what's expected of them too. And
for sure.
there's just so many benefits, but then you're not stuck with the wrong fit, which ultimately is not going to help your business.
Not going to help your business. They're uncomfortable. They're feeling like a square peg in a round hole. Like,
Yeah.
why am I here? They don't want to come to work when they're in that, right? So it's an incredible attraction tool for bringing the right people into the business, but it also is a great retention tool because
Yeah.
now the folks that are coming in, they want to be there because they're all about what you're about,
Right.
right? And so, and the great thing about EOS, so you're doing it in a publishing company and a media company. I'm doing it in a haircut shop, but I have a painting client, I have an accounting client, like you name a business, and there is a client there that is running on EOS because it is business agnostic. It just doesn't matter.
Right.
You have core values. You may not have articulated them yet, but they already exist. So we don't put core values on the company. You tell us what they are, right? You identify them and discover them. So that's inherently who you are. Like you said, you know what you're about. Just
Yeah.
get them down on paper. Oh, that's clear. Oh, now I see all that stuff. And then we help assess everyone in the organization against that list of core values. Does everyone match up? And when they don't, it's okay because they're not happy anyway, guaranteed. Because if someone's not on the same page with your core values, they're going to be in a wrong spot and it's going to end badly one way or the other. So better just to sniff it out, figure it out, and move on. And
Totally true.
yeah, yeah.
It's such a great great tool. It's a great system. The fact that you can help people through that whole process is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Uh, Two quick questions
sure.
before we wrap. So the show is called The Power of Authority Spotlight, and power of authority is a play on words. Authority is a play on words. You can't spell authority without author. Doesn't mean you have to have a book. But what I mean by that is we all have a way that we're leveraging our authority. You're doing it through podcasting and other
Yeah.
ways. What else is working for you to build your brand, build your authority, build your platform?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think this is evolving for me over time, right? The story it continues to evolve, right? You're a storyteller and helping that, and so I've been actually spending a lot of time thinking about this very question. I think that the podcast that I host has been very helpful there because I'm hearing other stories and saying, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's me. Oh, no, that's not." So it's helping me polish that off. That's the first thing. The second thing is being very authentic when I come to clients and say, "This is who you're getting with me," and so every client that every EOS implementer has ever worked with goes through a 90-minute matchmaking session, for lack of a better term. We call it our 90-minute meeting, but we introduce ourselves, we introduce EOS, we talk about the tools, and then we say, does this sound good to you? And do you like me?
Right.
Frankly,
You
right.
have to have that fit.
Exactly. So it's a good match. And so, right, you've got to be authentic in there because if you put a different face forward, it's going to be really bad for the client. It's not going to be a great experience. And so I've really you laughed a little bit earlier about being the get stuff done guy, but I've made that a big part of my story because that's what I'm going to bring to the table, right? I'm not There are plenty of people that do what I do because they created their own business, then sold it, or had a great exit, or turned it over to their employees, or whatever they did. But they were the visionaries, and they come and they bring that angle to being an implementer. Fantastic. They can speak the language of the visionary to visionary, and then help the visionary introduce these tools. I think that's awesome. That's not me. I come from the other side. Look, I've been spending my whole career getting stuff done.
Yeah.
You've got great ideas. I'm going to come in and show you how EOS is going to help you get stuff done. That's where my angle is, and that's where I need to spend my time. And when I can find an organization that is struggling in that space, that becomes a much better fit. So that's where I think is my story is continuing to come around. But I'm start to really say, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to bring to you, and that's not for everybody, which is cool, right? I can find them someone else that it's there for. That's fine as well.
And what you just said is so key, and I feel like authenticity is really the key in business. I mean, everybody, especially nowadays with our world of being social and people putting on their best foot forward. But at the end of the
Everyone's
day,
living this great life. Like, why am I not living that life? Like, once again, it's the 8-year overnight success story that I say facetiously all the time. It's like, it just doesn't happen. It's this up and down, peaks and valleys.
And I think people want to work with other people that are authentic, who are real, and who've been there, done that. So I think that is great advice, actually. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold of you to learn more about, maybe doing that 90-minute session, or learn more about what you could do to help them?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple different ways. EOSworldwide.com/Scott-Goodrich. So EOS Worldwide it's the website where all of these tools are available. There's some that are available for free. Some folks like to take it on themselves and not work with a coach, so that's available there. You can also find an implementer in your area, and you can certainly find me at Scott-Goodrich after the EOS Worldwide. So that's one way. You can also email me, Scott.Goodrich@EOS Worldwide. And for anyone that's interested, I mentioned the book Traction. That is what EOS is based on. And I'm more than happy to provide anyone that reaches out to me via email, or there's actually a link on that site, would like a free copy of the book Traction. Think this is something you'd like to learn more about. Take a read. Even if you never work with an EOS implementer, I guarantee you that if you read the book, you're going to grab a couple things, say, oh, I should be doing that in my business. Like, you're going to grab something from it. And I'm just a big advocate of keep reading, keep learning. This is just be another tool in your toolbox. And then if you're all in like I am, let's chat.
Yeah. And what a generous offer, giving it away for free. It is a great book. I have it on my bookshelf, so I highly recommend it. All right. What would be your one last question? And our parting words is more of for somebody listening who's maybe they don't know of EOS, maybe they do, but they're a business owner going through the journey. Maybe this has been a frustrating year, or a lot of unknowns. Any advice you would give to them on how to keep moving forward? And
so I will share what has been great for me, because as you and I talked about before we got started, right? There ups and downs, personally, professionally, everyone's got stuff going on. So the first thing that I would say is, as you're talking to others, whether it's in your company, peers, family, know that everyone's got something going on, and just understand that, right? They're in a space, you're in a space, just be appreciative of that, because people got stuff going on, and you just give them that grace, that kindness, that generosity of time and space. I think there's a lot to be said for that, and the way that treating one another. That's the first thing. The second thing is keep learning, keep reading. I've been digesting books. I like to read, first off, and it's typically one for me and then one for business. But this learning journey continues, and there's so many great books out there. I talk about them on my podcast. We certainly have a number in the Traction library. You can find multiple books on anything that you're struggling with, or that you'd like to learn more about, and just pull them down on the shelf, read them, listen to them, spend a little time with them. You got to keep learning. If you're not in that space and you own a business, you're going to get past. It's not going to move at the pace that you want it to. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to put my nose down and keep grinding. Take a minute, grab a book, grab an Audible, go for a walk, and learn a little. And that, giving yourself that space away from the business to digest something else, is going to be really, really valuable for you as you want to grow your business.
Great advice, because being a business owner is not for the faint of heart, and we have to continuously build our mind, keep our thoughts in the right area, also learn new things so we can continue to grow and develop, because ultimately we're business owners because we're here to serve others. So we have to take care of ourselves in order so we can serve more people.
100%. Take that time. We call them clarity breaks in EOS. You call them whatever you'd like, but this is take 15, 30 minutes and just stop, think, Right. As I know you encourage folks to write things down, whatever it is, but clear the mind. You'll be amazed what happens. Dan Sullivan has written many books that I follow, and he's great. I know you know Strategic Coach, but he encourages a full day every week. I think and he's done great things. Hard to argue with that advice. So start small and build that. But he's like, every week he spends a day not thinking anything about his business, and look what that business has done. So sometimes less is more. I mean, there's something to that is worth exploring for you individually as to how that works into your world.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for
thank you for having me.
Learned a lot, and definitely take advantage of that free traction book. And I hope that this information is helpful on getting you farther down your author journey. So thank you so much again for being here, Scott. That is it for the Power of Authority Spotlight. We will see you next time. Make it a good one. Thanks so much for listening to the Power of Authority Spotlight. If you are a successful founder, entrepreneur, business owner, or leader that's getting results and making a difference, and you'd like to be on this program, please visit performancepublishinggroup.com/podcast to apply. That's performancepublishinggroup.com/podcast. Also, if you got something out of this interview, please share this episode. Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on the socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag #ThePowerOfAuthoritySpotlight. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content, so make sure you don't miss any episodes by subscribing. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our websites, performancepublishinggroup.com or michelleprince.com, and follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.